Are there advantages to aging? Yes, I am Debbi-Jo Horton, and welcome to Advantages to Aging. Join my guests and I as we discuss aging and what makes for a healthy lifestyle, which results in a quality life. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. You are going to love this one. We're going to be talking about life transitions and the financial impact with Isislatham. Say hello to the audience, Isis.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here, DJ. Thank you.
Oh, I am so excited about having you on because you make so many things make so much sense. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Sure.
So what types of life transitions should one seek financial advice for when you're in, say, your 20s and 30s? Because I know a lot of times people go like, I got plenty of time for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it interesting how when we're in our 20s, we think we have forever in front of us? And then just 10 years later, we start to feel like, oh, wow, life is catching up with me. And so I think that the opportunity in our 20s is really significant. You know, one thing, we have time on our side. So what a great opportunity to start saving money. The other thing is that our health is usually as good as it's ever going to be. And yet we have 40 years ahead of us where people are going to be relying on us. So yeah, we need to be making sure that we properly insure and we start putting some money into savings. Now, the details around that savings, that needs to be really specific to each individual, DJ, but it's really, really important to be able to make sure that as we're looking at that age timeline, that we're taking full advantage of that really long expanse that we have in our 20s. You know, we also want to be getting debt free, but, you know, let's be real. A lot of people in their 20s and in their early 30s, they're purchasing houses, they're taking on big mortgages, they're working with student loans. So at that point, can you be debt free? Maybe not, but you should be looking at a plan that's going to be written out for you and be your roadmap.
And that's excellent advice.
Debbi-Jo with Neora. Are all face washes created equal? Heck no. You're told, use an oil-based. That's the best. Somebody else says, no, use a water-based. That's the best. So does that mean that you have to have two different cleansers sitting on your counter in the bathroom? No, no, no. Age IQ double cleansing face wash. That's what you want. It has the distinct properties of oil with a fresh feeling of light foam, oil, and water. You apply it to dry skin. It removes all the oil-based impurities and your makeup. And then with the addition of water, turns into a soft, milky lather for deep down cleansing. That's what you want. Age IQ double cleansing face wash.
Typically, the biggest life transitions we have happen in our 20s, 30s, and into our 40s, where I think a lot of us think that the biggest life transitions happen when we're much older, in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And it's really the flip side. So I
I have to
know,
agree with you on that. I think a lot of people wait to start asking for advice
yeah,
until they get to a point where they finally realize that they may not have all the answers. And I think, you know, how do we know what we need to ask? Well, we start talking to people and we start learning what questions we should ask.
and that's true. Just because you have the knowledge doesn't mean that you have to implement it right away, but isn't it powerful and impactful to actually have that knowledge tucked away in the back of your mind?
Agreed.
So I love the fact that you deal with so many people in their 20s and 30s and really help to educate them about that, because most people in that age bracket don't take the time to make some of those decisions when it costs them a lot less than when they make it, say, in your 40s or 50s. So
Yeah.
what about if you are in your 40s or 50s? What types of transitions should we be seeking financial advice for?
Well, that's a really great question because here we just talked about this nice long expanse in front of you, and you've got the world by the tail, and everything's really great. And then all of a sudden we get into our 40s, maybe our 50s, and we think that life has passed us by and that we don't have time anymore to make any decisions. But I want to get real here for a minute. You think about how long is our life expectancy? 80s, 90s. Some people are living to 100. You still have half of your life in front of you. You have hopefully your health if they've been doing the right things. And, it's not too late to turn that around. So, do you want to start making the decision today to work into, again, making sure that you're debt free, right? Your children might be growing up and moving out of the house. Now you can start to focus a little bit more on yourselves. How would that feel to have that mortgage paid off? How would it feel to know that you have a nest egg? Maybe you've neglected it up until then, but this nest egg starts to get a little more attention. At that point also, it's not like in your 20s where you're just making sure that you ensure your income. Now you're in your 40s, maybe even 50s. You're ensuring your spouse's retirement, honestly, because if something happens to you, are they going to be okay? And that's a tough question to answer. And, it gets into our own mortality. But who's better to address it than you right now?
So true. And a lot of times we don't want to think about those things because nobody wants to think about the inevitable. I mean, we laugh when people say the only two things that are guaranteed in life is death and taxes. And at some point we're all going to die, but really spending time thinking about not only your death, but your end of life, like
Yeah.
what's the quality of life that you have and how you or your family are going to afford it is something that we need to be thinking about as we get into even our 60s and 70s. Those are only a portion of the life transitions.
I'm really excited that you just mentioned that because the 60s and 70s, again, you are entering some of the most prime opportunity in your life to be thinking about others, right? So you went through your 20s and it was all about, oh my gosh, I have everything in front of me and I have huge decisions to make. Then you got into your 30s, 40s, and then eventually 50s. And you're moving those children out, you're making them independent. Maybe you never even had children, and now it's just focusing on that next phase of your career, right? So there's all these different opportunities, but the 60s, the 70s, that's where you get to really look at legacy. What's the legacy that you're going to leave behind? And it's not just money. It could be the things that you've said, the things that you've done, the things that you've created, that you've participated in. And so a little bit of pre-planning and a little bit of thought around that can mean the world to the people that you know. And we also have an opportunity now to have a lot of wisdom that maybe our 20-year-old self was really hoping for. Now we get to start actually putting it into application.
Awesome. I love that. I love the fact that, you know, what I really appreciate about you, Isis, is like looking not only at where you are, so if you're in your 20s and thinking about, like, oh, I just want to get out of college, and listening to you talk about retirement or, being in business for yourself, it gives you not only kind of a peek into those life transitions, but gives you hope and
Mhm.
maybe even helps you to start dreaming. And, so many people have had their dreams beaten out of them even before they hit their 20s. Because I remember in school always being told, well, really what you want to do. Now, I might be letting you guys know what my age is, but I was always told, you just want to find a good man to get married and raise a family. It was never, well, you could you could start your own business. You could grow a global organization. Never was a woman ever told things like that, but now it's commonplace. So I think that it's great to really dream those big dreams, but be prepared financially in talking with people like Isis about that financial advice for all those different dreams and life transitions. I hope that you found this really helpful, and you can find Isis in the show notes. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask those questions. Is there any last minute thoughts that you want to share with us, Isis?
I think that my favorite way of looking at life is act fast, act often, and practice hard, right? Practice hard, practice fast, and just take the opportunity and seize it. If it's not right, well, then you're going to practice fast and hard again. You'll get to change it.
Excellent advice. Thanks so much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Do you think one of the biggest advantages to aging is all the knowledge we gain along the way? Me too. What did you learn today? Share with me in my Facebook group with the same name as this podcast, Advantages to Aging. Now hit subscribe so you don't miss all the tips to come in future episodes.